CM Punk!
Whoa, we cannot say that.
Oh, okay. Roman Reigns at the... No, not that either. Oh.
Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. He's Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture. AEW Revolution has just finished. And we're here to tell you what went down. What didn't go down is a return for CM Punk, first of all. There was a huge return, though. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that in due course, but we will run you down the results of all the matches. Shocking match to start this. Couldn't have called this one, Michael Hamflett. It was Chris Jericho opening the show against Ricky Starks. Now, I joked there, because we all said, oh, that's going to open the show then. Yeah. Didn't call the result, though.
No. Yeah, Chris Jericho and Ricky Starks very much having a wrestling match to open the wrestling match pay-per-view.
Yes.
Like Ricky Starks with the sort of old-fashioned selling of the injury, with the taped ribs. Chris Jericho being the wrestling heel and sticking to the rules that he'd put in place that the Jericho Appreciation Society wouldn't get involved. But then they did.
What?
But kind of didn't. Sammy Guevara made his appearance at the very, very end of the match, but Action Andretti just trucked him into the Shadow realm with a spear of all spears, leaving Chris Jericho, while Aubrey Edwards was distracted with that, to go for the bat. He did go for the bat. He did hit with the bat, but Ricky Starks got the kick out. That gave everybody the sort of the nice buzzy feeling in the air that maybe the right result was going to take place here. And it did. Ricky Starks, Rochambeau, 1, 2, 3. Almost like the match 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where the feud started, could have been where the feud ended, but I don't know. We'll see if the ends justify the means, but Ricky Starks beats Chris Jericho clean with a Rochambeau.
Yeah, the main thing is he won. He's out of the Jericho vortex. Let's move on. And let's move on to the final burial match. It was a casket match, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah. Well, a bit of that. We'll get to that.
Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry. All I can remember from this is the ending because it popped me so big.
It was a super spirited brawl before that. Yeah, the ending was a lot of fun. Nice for a AEW Revolution with a big prop moment to go ahead as planned rather than not. Like, we'll take that this year. A really violent brawl. As violent as it needed to be because the ending was going to be a little bit silly. They kept it serious in the run-up to that. Jungle Boy, well, Jack Perry, I guess, because he is now fully a man, did the very sort of, did all the histrionics, but all the histrionics that were needed, because obviously there was, the kind of like the death of his father and Christian blowing the kisses to his mother. Jack Perry's family figured heavily into this. The fight led up onto the stage, which is, of course, where all the big concerto spots have taken place. But tonight, it was Jack Perry finally swinging, finally lowering the boom, as he never had done before. Christian was...
But not before you putting him in a snare trap using a shovel.
Oh, yeah! Snare trap with a shovel.
Not to edge somewhat.
Well, Jungle Boy did have grit, didn't he, about him in his attack, and he also had soil. There was like, ooh, it was getting in the cuts and all that sort of stuff. Both men bled. Both men did blood, didn't they? There was a lot of blood on this pay-per-view. We're going to get to more of that in a second.
It's easier to list the people who didn't.
But Jungle Boy throws Christian into the coffin.
After the
concerto. Kisses him on the head, symbolically, looks up to the heavens, then looks down, closes the lid, and then as the lid closes, and I mean instantly as the lid closes, conk, like that, the coffin drops.
Like a roller coaster ride, you just drop, your arse drops out.
Now, either Christian took that last sort of drunk, or there was some sort of delay as a way to allow that, because it did look pretty cool.
It looked awesome.
It was like a reverse Cody bit. Like, they've used the elevator and like dropped the brakes out of it from the last minute, because he's hit the deck at quite a pace there.
Who's that falling out of the sky in a coffin?
Christian Cage guy. Mysterio. There he goes, out of AEW. Who knows? This was very, very definitive. Shout out to Christian Cage as well. I'm a wrestling attire guy. And his street fight wear, I know this is very imperial, but like Jack Perry was in his jeans and his cowboy boots. Christian was out in black tights and a turtleneck tights. Turtleneck, cut off sleeves.
Brilliant.
So he gets lovely tanned biceps. But his
and his crap tattoo.
Right the way at the top, yeah. If he's got a WWE neck tattoo like the American Nightmare, we couldn't have seen it because it's covered up.
Indeed. Maybe that's the thought for WrestleMania, Cody. Right, let's move on and talk about the trios match. It was the Elite, of course, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks against the House of Black, who were ostensibly, I think it's fair to say, the heels in this. Apart from the bit where Kenny Omega accidentally hit Julia Hart and went, who cares?
Yeah. Like, and not just accidentally hit her. Did he not like V-trigger her off the... I've not like misremembered that either because I've already like painted a picture of the theatre of violence in my head.
I'm going to have to go back and watch this match. This was until the main event, probably the best match on the show.
Yes, exhilarating stuff, as you can imagine. Wall-to-wall action, bell-to-bell, pretty much. We had stuff like Kenny Omega and Buddy Matthews getting to do the Mirror Man stuff. We got an awesome Terminator dive from Kenny Omega as he kind of like explodes into action. There was tons of the usual, I feel like we're underselling it, but the usual Young Bucks reversal stuff where you're getting all the awesome tag stuff. A million billion false finishes at the end, as we were doubting if the trios titles were going to be corrupted. Julia Hart getting involved. We thought there was maybe going to be some toxic juice spat in the face of Kenny Omega, but instead she just took it.
But she didn't have to take a table bump this time.
No, but I don't know if this was better or worse, quite frankly. But yes, all led to this gripping sort of crescendo where all of the House of Black ultimately rounded. Was it on Kenny Omega?
Yeah, they just killed him.
That's it, because they'd done the thing where like all three of them kept rounding on one member of the Elite at any one time, but then the Elite would come in and keep recovering. But it wasn't.
Didn't learn, did they?
No, but it was indeed Kenny Omega that took it all. I keep thinking it was Nick Jackson, but it was Kenny, wasn't it?
There's one point where Kenny definitely took it on. I'm not sure if that was the finish or not.
But for the finish.
I'm not confused. So maybe say here, hang on.
They all absorbed the multiple finishes of the various members of the House of Black. The House of Black are the new Trios champions. The Trios belts have been corrupted. And then there was a slight production flub because it's Revolution.
I forgot about this.
You're supposed to have lights go down on the new champions, lights come back up. Oh, by the way, there was a child. In the ring. Julia Hart brought a child in the ring for some reason. Don't know whose kid it was, but he was corrupted too. Lights go down, lights come back up, House of Black have gone.
Yeah.
Lights come back up, House of Black still getting out of the ring.
Yeah, Malachi Black's still climbing out.
That's a great big spotlight. Interestingly, as the Elite were being carted away, licking their wounds, Don Callis was kind of looking a little bit like, oh, Kenny's...
He's off to do Konosuke Takeshita stuff.
Kenny's a bit washed, isn't he? So yeah, I wonder if there's a... Omega Takeshita match in the future. Maybe a double or nothing now that presumably the Young Bucks go back to the tags and Kenny goes back to being a star. So we'll see.
You sort out your laptop because that's got TBA now. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match and House of Black kick ass, and that was the right result for me.
Yeah,
I think otherwise they'd just been completely undermined in their whole evil plan. But I'm going to go back and watch this later on today because. Kicked ass this match. Then we got the three-way for the AEW Women's World Title. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya versus Ruby Soho. A weird sort of mirroring throughout this, wasn't there? Someone pointed out on the chat about how maybe there was a bit of breadcrumbs between what was about to happen. But the most important thing is Jamie Hayter is still your AEW Women's World Champion.
Jamie Hayter is still your Women's World Champion by defeating Ruby Soho, who now may be the new #1 contender for the AEW Women's title.
Yes.
As a result of the decision she made at the very end. Of course, there was lots of discussion about whose side was she on, and she said all along, it's all about the title. She even had it on her jacket. But it seemed like at the end of the match, after the result, it's like she made a decision afterwards rather. She was true to her word. She was chasing the championship, but when she didn't get the championship, it appears that she has been corrupted by the outsiders because she was kind of asked to make a choice in the moment, and it appeared as though she was going with the homegrowns.
Yeah, you don't run this place bitches or something.
She kind of she low-bridged, didn't she? She didn't physically attack, she low-bridged. Yeah. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker appeared to be pleased with her, welcomed them into her circle, and then she turned with whatever she calls it now, the riot kick, the Soho kick, whatever it was. Well, laid out both Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, leaving them easy
spray paint of the L.
Easy prey for the spray paint of the L from the outside as they appear to have a new member. The ranks have been strengthened on that side of this ever-growing divide, this chasm. The chasm that has grown in the AEW Women's Division. There's over a lot of this and there's you.
Yes.
But there's some of it just fine.
I'm just really relieved. Good stuff. Just relieved. It was a good match, yeah.
Super hard-hitting match like that, a big brawl in the crowd. We need to make mention of Toni Storm almost stealing the show from the outside.
Yeah.
In the post-match attack, she absolutely wrecks a cameraman and a camera. Which we were like, that's pretty expensive looking, but it was, kick ass. Toni Storm getting some profile.
There was a spot as well where it looked like Ruby Soho had lost all of her teeth being dropped onto the barricade.
Oh, yeah. It's brutal stuff. They just laid it
Jamie Hayter just won with a pinfall.
Saraya's, Saraya's best match in AEW so far.
That's a shout.
I think so. So it seemed like they were setting up Hayter versus Saraya in a singles, Hayter versus Ruby Soho in a singles, but you were definitely led to believe that Britt Baker is still keeping an eye on these developments.
They're going to pull the trigger on that eventually.
Not bad, this. I quite like this. Few strands.
Then it was time for the Texas Death match between Jon Moxley and Hangman Page. This was disgusting.
Oh, yeah, there's just loads of barbed wire stuff.
I set a timer on my phone. 3 minutes, I said, from the start of the match till Moxley was bleeding. Nailed it.
Nailed it as well. Just under, wasn't it? 2 minutes 50 or something.
Yeah.
Barbed wire everywhere, and thankfully not in that Chris Jericho, Eddie Kingston way. Whew. It was wrapped around people's backs. It was wrapped around people's fists. But barbed wire wasn't the only story here. Bricks happened. Just rename Moxley Stanley 2 Bricks because he used Hangman Page's head as the filler of a brick sandwich.
And his hand.
Yeah.
At one point.
Hand as well. Somehow Page recovered from that and was able to hit his finisher, which I guess means that's now a brick shot lariat. Of course, it was Texas Deathmatch rules here, so you had to, I guess, be beaten him down for the 10 count, or, as was the case, just give in, which is what Jon Moxley did. He introduced his the chain that you may remember from the Kenny Omega Lights Out match, that thicker Golder chain. Yeah. That was at one point part of a dog collar type setting between the two, a bit of a tug of war. Was that the Judgment Daisy there making an appearance? But yeah, so it was chains, barbed wire tables. Hangman Page took a bump from the inside of the ring to the outside through the floor. Gross stuff. Absolutely buckets of blood, exactly as you expect. But the chain was...
that, and then he did this...
Oh God, yeah, you
excuse bad barbed wire on that.
The snail trails, the fingerprints left behind. It was absolutely grim. I feel like we're forgetting some more grossness. There was a barbed wire punch at one point. It was all horrendous. But it ended when Moxley, who was on the floor, was the hanged man as a result of Page dragging on the chain, and Jon Moxley tapped out. Yeah. Lest he be hung up.
Saw a great take on Twitter by one Michael Sidgwick about all this, which is Hangman Page said he abhors violence. He's not a huge fan of that, and that was the thing that got Moxley. He loved the violence so much that he was like, no, one more thing. Mm-hmm. Even the stomp on the bricks couldn't put Hangman Page down. He wins, and hopefully Jon Moxley has a nice holiday now.
Well, if Moxley's gone to Alaska ice fishing, it's okay. It's not that Hangman Page has had a holiday as well, because he went to that place, obviously, to get the win. So they've both taken vacations to uncharted territories.
Then it was the match to crown who loses to Powerhouse Hobbs on Dynamite this week, I should say. Yeah. TNT Championship, Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. This is probably the low point of the show for me.
Yeah, which is a compliment to the show, in a manner of speaking. Because this wasn't bad, but this was just kind of wrestling.
Wasn't Darby Allin.
No, this was wrestling happening while people watched. Joe was in good fettle, considering that he wasn't fighting Darby Allin. It just wasn't necessarily the big comeback splash for Wardlow you were expecting. Like, Wardlow hit like the Swanton Bomb that always gets a huge reaction in the building. Definitely had like those high spot moments from him. But I don't know if it was the fact that Powerhouse Hobbs was looking on and everybody's thinking, well, he's going to win that title. And the fact that these two never had electrifying chemistry from the beginning. And the fact that this was clearly there to rather quietly follow on from the Texas Deathmatch anyway. Yeah. Typically, Tony Khan would give this to the women. So it was quite nice that they were in a better spot here. Something always has to struggle on a card like this. And I guess this was that.
And it wasn't a powerbomb symphony to finish.
There was not, no. He tapped Joe out, which I guess is kind of a nice way to conclude their feud. This does put a bow on Samoa Joe and Wardlow. And at very least, Wardlow winning the match was probably the most predictable result on the show. So giving the most predictable match in the slot where fans could be given a breather was good for the card, because this is probably where we have to pay tribute to this card, right? 60-minute main event. Yeah. 8 matches. Flew by. Like, the main event itself flew by. We're going to get to that. But in terms of a AEW pay-per-view, there are always these criticisms about how long these cards feel. Even if the runtime is 4, it sometimes feels like more. This didn't.
Tony Khan, just when I think you can't get worse as a booker, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. And speaking of redeeming yourself, just a fun 4-way tag match next with an interesting development following it. It was the Guns, of course, versus the Acclaimed, versus Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, versus Triple J, of course, which was the other team. Triple J, who very nearly won the belts for you.
Oh, man, yeah. This took a little bit of a while to get going.
Yeah, it felt like a lot like a TV match early on.
Very much so. Like, not bad action. Again, there wasn't much bad action on this show. There was just some times where it felt a little bit ordinary, and there was only once or twice where the lackluster build to Revolution crept into Revolution itself. Yeah. And I would say that was the case here, truthfully, for the bulk of the match until we hit that closing stretch. It is one I'm looking forward to watch again to see if there was details that were missed as the sort of tags were just, it was like all about spot exchanging, wasn't it? Everybody was getting it in until we get down to the finishing stretch. The tease of all tease, as yet again, Jeff Jarrett is cheated by the goddamn system out of the tag title that he so desperately craves. I feel like this is becoming one of those AEW long-term things now. Yeah. He's had that belt in his hand, had it ripped away. Tonight, it was a false finish for the ages where he was just so goddamn excited.
He hit with a Golden Globe shot and a stroke.
The guitar was taken away with the Golden Globe and the stroke. Led to, it was Max Caster, wasn't it, that was down for the count. Jeff Jarrett celebrating, punch in the air, goes down, but it's only a 2. And it does ultimately lead to the Guns retaining in something of a surprise. I think when they won the belts on TV, that was somewhat predictable, but everybody thought a hot shot was coming.
Yeah, they're very good heat magnets.
They are indeed. And everybody thought, I think, that for this match there was going to be 2 jokers. There was going to be Sting and Darby Allin. It wasn't to be. It was not going to be best friends, who did appear here, Danhausen and Orange Cassidy, who were there for the pops and the hot stuff. We did get an Orange Cassidy Jeff Jarrett strut off, which I appreciated, and matching gear from Danhausen and Orange Cassidy tonight. But the other prospective jokers were FTR, who did arrive after the fact to lay their claim to being the best tag team in the world. The Guns were running them out to Renee about being the best, and they are clearly very much not. FTR come out. 2 headlines from this. 1, big rigging the Guns to show that they could just take them out like that and reclaim those belts. Number 2, Dax Harwood bleeding everywhere because, I don't know.
You have 2 minutes, Dax. What are you doing?
Is this like when AJ Styles banged his head on the WrestleMania set? It's like the Revolution set, just barbed just in case people need to bleed. What was this?
It looked kick-ass.
It did look awesome.
Great to see FTR back. Yeah. That's the main thing. And, put the belts on them ASAP. Sorry, Guns, but...
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Exactly.
It's got to be.
And now the Young Bucks are free to... Just saying.
Round 3.
Main event time, MJF versus Bryan Danielson. 60-minute iron match for the AEW World Championship. I was astonished to see some people initially going, bit of a boring start to this. I was like, they've got to wrestle for 60 minutes, guys. Of course MJF's going to roll to the outside and... emotionally scar a small child at one point by chucking water on them. Sean Ross Sapp apparently pointed out, that wasn't a plan. He just ruined a kid's night, basically. He's the best. And he reminded everyone why he is the best in the world in this match. Him and Danielson put on an absolute classic. Is Meltzer going to give him 5 stars? He called him out.
He did, and that's only one of the reasons why I don't think he will. I sometimes think this is one of them gut feelings, and it's got like a 4 and 3, but maybe not.
3, yeah, maybe.
We'll see. We'll hear what Meltzer himself says as a bit of a teaser, and that shouldn't be what we're talking about here, I guess. So this would have gone around.
Well, speaking of 4 and 3.
4 and 3. So if you follow the bravest wrestling commentators online on YouTube, you'll know that somebody predicted a draw, which is what we got until Max was screwed into having to defend his title into overtime. Because
he survived because he did his knee in, didn't he?
He did. Tie goes to the champion, typically.
It's like the Ashes, just stays when they won it last,
Bryan we were down to a minute and change when Bryan locked on the half crab on MJF's bad knee. MJF decked out in the white and gold of Shawn Michaels 1996, just as Brett wrenched on the sharpshooter. Bryan wrenched on a half crab, and just like Shawn Michaels held out for the clock, so too did MJF. Of course, in this case, he shouldn't have had to carry on defending, but just like Bret Hart, he wasn't able to. He was back in the ring for overtime, but unlike Bret Hart, he was able to retain his title.
Yeah, because he's the best.
They had a couple of exchanges, another couple of submission exchanges. MJF escaped, managed to get to the ropes. He was rejuvenated by an oxygen tank at the 60-minute mark that had been left at ringside. He clocked Bryan with this outside of the referee's view. Yeah, you thought it was a forearm, didn't you? We'll have to watch this again to double check. Bryan was as good as knocked out. He somehow survived the hand being dropped for 3, but MJF, smartly, simply held on to the bell lock that he locked Bryan in. Bryan eventually had to tap. Wasn't even a pass out. He did tap out to make it 4-3 in this. We should, I guess, try and cover the other. We can't do a 60-minute match in a short video like this.
No.
But the falls themselves were Busaiku knee, 1-0 to Bryan.
Yeah. Kick to the cock.
Kick to the cock. No, hang on. Yeah, kick to the cock. 2-0 to Bryan. Immediate pinfall, 1-2. Immediate pinfall, 2-2. Mm-hmm. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Third fall. I'm struggling to remember at this point.
I think it was a submission from MJF, although I didn't see it.
Salt of the earth. I can't remember.
No, as in he tapped out, I think.
Oh, he tapped out. Okay, so make it 3-2 to Bryan, at which point 3-3 was made with a pinfall by MJF, and then that took us obviously to
I think that's what go and watch it. Don't take our word for it. It was absolutely excellent.
Highlights also included MJF with a flying elbow drop through the announce table, and then a running tombstone through the remainder of the announce table, which looked really cool.
And a super tombstone off the top.
The Bryan somehow managed to top the running forearm in Dynamite with a running knee into the barricade. He was going 100 miles an hour. Looked so fast he was going to slip over. He looked like Axiom's entrance on NXT, if you ever said that, but it was a human being actually doing it. Both covered in blood and piss and sweat by the end of it. 60 grueling minutes, 65 or whatever it was in total. Never once dragged. Obviously, an Ironman match can't be recapped in this sort of format, but genuinely, in my gut, already feel like this has entered the canon of the top tier of Iron Man matches. Maybe even the top one, but I don't want to commit to that just yet. But it was very, very, very strong stuff. There was a number of teases. I don't know if I'm fishing for it because I'm a super fan, but he came out, did MJF in the Joker mask that he wore, obviously, the night.
What entrance that was, by the way.
Incredible. Returned. There was also multiple mentions to him being the best in the world. There was a number of allusions, obviously, with the Punk, the FTR coming back and the dog collar and the like to CM Punk on the show. Nothing yet, but lots of things to grab onto if you're the type of person that wants to grab onto. And here's me grabbing onto all the CM Punk.
Also, particularly enjoyed the H2O chant at one point because MJF kept getting water.
Constantly getting water, which was quite a nice touch. Look, you got to stay hydrated. You're going out there for 65 minutes, especially if you know the system's going to try and screw you. MJF tried to cheat, and the referee was willing to let him so that he would be
he got the belt, didn't he?
All very good, all very entertaining.
You use it, you lose it was a great line from Bryce Remsburg.
Absolutely tremendous. And MJF can turn up on this Dynamite if he wishes, or indeed the next one, or indeed the scrum that is happening right now as we record this, to say categorically that he is the best in the world, he is the GOAT, all that sort of stuff.
I mean,
he survived.
Where's the lie?
He even survived the corruption.
Yeah.
Not the kind of corruption, but the corporate corruption at the highest level, as Tony Schiavone was speaking to. We can only assume, based on Tony Schiavone's gleeful face, but also trying to tell him to shut the F up, a very excited Tony Khan, who was presumably saying something along the lines of, I don't know, it wasn't exactly bugged, but 5 more minutes, we're going to go we're going to have overtime, we're going to have a champion, my show doesn't go off the air like this is not Craven Cottage, we don't have a tie game, sudden death rules. And Schiavone was like, yeah, I got it. Don't make him turn over.
Pleased.
Mick Foley's not going to win the other company's world title. I'm not going to get him to turn over. But yeah, he was obviously buzzing because of his long-term rivalry with MJF. We get the sudden death finish. It's really gripping. It's really grueling. Please watch it if you've somehow found this to get your sort of primer. For goodness sake, I know it's 60 minutes. I know it's 65. I know it can be quite intimidating. Absolutely worth your time. Definitely one of the better Iron Man matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, and just a really enjoyable card, to be perfectly honest. And then just to reiterate what we said earlier, less matches, obviously. You got a 1 hour match to close out the show. It's just felt a lot tighter, a lot more essential, all this stuff. Like I say, I agree that I don't think the build has been anywhere near as good as AEW is normally used to, but by God, do they pull it out of the bag tonight. A brilliant show. Very excited to see where they go from here. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe. Continue the conversation with us on Twitter as well, at WhatCulture WWE. Well, actually, they can follow both of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. And we will be doing a more in-depth discussion of this with myself, Michael Hamflett, and Michael Sidgwick in the coming days on the WhatCulture Wrestling podcast. WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. But this has been AEW Revolution, What Went Down. Now time for the awkward moment when I have to run off camera and press stop on the recording. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.